Hello and welcome. I am going to introduce you to the Health 301, which is Evidence in Health course. My name is Arindam Basu and I am your course coordinator. In this course, we are going to cover a few things. First of all, what would you expect to learn from this course? And what are the assessments and deadlines look like? How can you use forums? And what are the different kind of software tools that we expect you to use? And then if following this, I encourage you to ask questions which I'd like to answer. You can ask these questions either writing in the forum for the course or as you watch it in the class. In class, please ask questions. So what is this course about? You will learn in this course how you can discuss evidence in health and healthcare. In that, you will learn how to frame an answerable research question. You will learn how to critically appraise a body of evidence or a body of information, and how to synthesize research and arrive at an evidence-based answer. This course is run every week, and every week on Monday between 10 a.m. and 12 noon, we will be meeting here in Rehua 002, and the classes will be recorded as far as practicable in Zoom system, and we will be uploading the lectures, everything that we do in the class, also in the course recording system in Learn. And one thing that I'd like to mention here is this, that we will not have any tutorial in this course at all, and we will have a section on literature search, and that will be on 14th September. The reason why I say this is because this is a very important part of the class which will be taken up by Margaret Patterson, who is our information specialist for the School of Health Sciences. So please make a note of this and make time to attend this, even if you have attended other similar classes before. And that class too will be here as opposed to the library. So to give you a brief plan of the class, we will be covering the theoretical bits and theoretical details of evidence appraisal and study designs and causality, all of those things in the first half of the course, which means that in term 3, between say roughly up till about 24th of August, these are the topics that we will be covering. And then term 3 ends with the first assignment, which I'm going to come in a bit. And then term 4, we will have 2 assignments, and we will be mostly using the applied aspects of everything that we have learned in the first half of the of this course. So pay particular attention to the classes that we're going ahead from now on, and then you will have plenty of hands-on experience of applying this knowledge in the second half of the course. So in the first assessment, it will be in the form of a multiple choice question quiz, also referred to as MCQ. And it will have one stem, and then we will have 5 choices, and you will have to choose only one out of those 5 choices. The correct answer gets 1 mark. If you answer wrongly, you get 0. There is no penalty for wrong answer otherwise, and it's marked out of 35. And it's important here to mention that it's an open book quiz, which means that you can refer to your notes to answer those questions. But I would still treat the test as if it was a closed book, only because you'll see with practice that it kind of saves you time for that. So when are we going to have that? 14th August 2020, and I think it's a Friday. It'll be open between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. So you start taking the quiz anytime between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. You'll have 2 hours. You get only 1 chance per way. And do not start and stop the test. If you start the test, work through and complete the test in one go. And that's something that's quite important. So when I say that it's open between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m., That means that you can start the test at 9 a.m. or maybe the test will be open a little before 9 a.m. The last time in the day when you can start the test is at 5 p.m. So if you try to attempt to open and unlock the test at 1 minute past 5 p.m., you will not be successful. So the latest you can access the test is at 5 p.m. Once open, the test will remain open for 2 hours, which means that if you start at 5 p.m., you will have till 7 p.m. to answer the questions. If you start the quiz at 9 a.m. in the morning, you'll have till 11 a.m. to answer the questions. So time yourself accordingly. There are 35 items and 120 minutes. I think it's quite generous for you to attempt everything. So in case you're wondering what will be a multiple choice question look like, you can see that here is a sample question. So for example, a STEM is this: which of the following is an example of a scholarly literature database used for searching? And as you can see here, the correct answer is PubMed/Medline, because that's the only one which is a scholarly literature database that you can use for searching scholarly literature. All the other ones are either social media accounts, or Overleaf is a tool for writing collaborative documents. Therefore, the only correct answer is PubMed/Medline. So if you were to select either Google or Facebook, then you would be getting a mark 0. If you were to select PubMed/Medline, then you'll get the correct mark 1. Then the second assessment is a post to the forum, and the forum opens on 15th of August and closes on the 18th September at 5 p.m. And the forum has got 20 total marks. It's 20% of the total grade. So there are extensive, tutorials that are already placed on Learn Forum. I'm sure you may have tried them before, but just in case you haven't, then I think the way to go that is this: that you click on that the button, add a new discussion topic next to any kind of forum, and then that will take you to another box or another page where you have to type the subject, and the exclamation mark that you get to see here indicates that that field is a required field, which means that you have to type the subject area, the subject of the post that you want to post, and your message, and then you post to the forum. Press that button and your message gets posted to the forum. It is a good idea that you can post your message to the forum and leave it up for 30 minutes, within which you can come back and edit it. So do not forget to make use of that feature if you want to do that, rather than pressing the button that posts it immediately. You'll see with practice. So what are we expecting that you're going to write in the forum? First of all, your own opinion or your own statement. Do not plagiarize from other people. You can write responses to one of your classmates' similar opinion or comment. And you can write anytime. You can participate in this forum between 15th of August and 18th of September. And the forum will close on the 18th September at 5 p.m., which means that after 5 p.m. on 18th September, you will not be able to post any additional remark or anything like that. And we will be reading your posts, and your total marks out of 20 will be based on your own posts and your forum activity, which means that any response that you put to your classmates' other posts will also be counted. So which means that how many posts you read and respond to will also be taken into account as you will be assessed on this one. So of course you will be putting up your own posts, but how you respond to others is also something that we would be interested to see. The third and final assessment for this course is one of critical appraisal. It is 45% of the total grade, marked out of 45, and your due date, which is a hard deadline, is on 16th of October at 5 p.m. So this is a hard deadline, which basically means that beyond this date, no more assignment for critical appraisal will be accepted. So if you have to submit, you have to submit within that time period. However, because 16th October is a hard deadline, the assignment opens on 19th September. So anytime between 19th September 9 a.m. and 16th October 5 p.m. you can post your assessment for this particular component of your assessment. So what will you do? You will put together an evidence appraisal of a set of tables, and we will be going over this in the course several times. And you select one of the 3 questions that will put up on your assessment page, and you have to frame the questions. One of the questions that you will be putting up in the form of a format called PICO question. PICO stands for participant, population, etc. I for intervention or exposure, C for comparator, and O for outcomes. And then you will be conducting a search of the scholarly literature, out of which you will select 5 randomized controlled trials. And then you will be putting together a Grade Pro portfolio table, write a brief commentary, and then submit by 16th October. So as I said, how will you do this? You will be setting up an account on Grade Pro, and we will be going over it today. You will be framing a PICO question, and how you set up a PICO question for your evidence appraisal will be taught to you, will be taught on the class on 7th September. The literature search for this component of the assessment will be on 14th September. And you will learn how to use Grade Pro for evidence portfolio construction. I will teach you on 28th September. And then I expect that you'll be submitting your table and your commentary on the 16th of October, 5 p.m. But of course, everything is open from 19th September. So you can submit anytime you like between then and the due hard deadline. So for this, step 1 is setting up a Grade Pro account. And a Grade Pro account is a free account. You don't have to pay for anything like that. You go to the website called gdtgradepro.org/app, and then you create an account. I recommend that you use your Gmail or some other permanent provision account rather than your school account. Of course, you can use your class university account for doing this. There's nothing that stop you from doing it. You know, you may want to use a Gmail or any email for that matter that you feel comfortable with. And then after you create an account and you can confirm your account, you log in, then click on this button called New Project, and then you create the new project, and thereafter you add a management question, because all the questions that we have provided you for your 3rd assignment are management questions. And here are these 3 questions that we have for your 3rd assignment. The first question is, what is the effectiveness of nicotine replacement therapy for achieving smoking cessation in adults? You will learn how to construct or to convert this question into a PICO question format. And the other 2 questions are about social skill training and effectiveness of lifestyle interventions. So we will be going over similar questions in the class so that you can get good practice before you start attempting these as part of your 3rd assessment component. So to repeat everything that I said, for example, what topics are we going to cover? Okay, so we'll be covering evidence-based health. We'll be covering internal and external validity of the studies. We'll be covering causal inference. We'll be covering study designs in health sciences. So what is evidence-based health? We will have a full-on class next week. But for the time being, just to give you a sneak preview of what it is, we will learn what is meant by evidence-based health. We will have an overview of evidence-based health practices. EBH stands for evidence-based health. We will have an overview of how to frame answerable questions. We will learn how to search literature. We will learn how to do critical appraisal and how to use critical appraisal for decision making. What do I mean by internal and external validity? In that section, we'll be covering what is referred to as chance, or how in studies authors and researchers can rule out the play of chance, how they can eliminate bias, how they can control for confounding, And external validity essentially means how we can externalize or how we can extend the scope of a study to make it generalizable to another audience. And all of these things, that is, understanding the role of chance, bias, and confounding variables, will be useful, and you will be using them when you conduct critical appraisal of a body of evidence. I said body of literature, but that essentially means a body of evidence. And we will see several examples of this in due course as the course progresses. In the class on causal inference, we will learn how to move. And when I say move, I mean that how do we conceptually transition from the notions of internal validity to testing, is the nature of the association one of cause and effect? In doing so, we will study and we will understand a few more concepts. One of them is Hill's criteria, and it was, it is named after Sir Austin Bradford Hill, who in 1965 framed 9 criteria, which of course he termed as considerations, but we will learn about them because they came to be recognized and practiced as criteria rather than considerations. We will take a look at a conceptual diagram called Rothman's pie diagram, and we will see how that helps us to understand cause and causality and causal inference. And finally, we will be looking at different ways of constructing causation using counterfactual theories. So from causal inference, we will move into epidemiological studies that are useful for understanding evidence. And there can be different kinds of studies. For example, observational studies where the researchers do not undertake any kind of intervention or experimentations. Intervention studies, mostly in the form of randomized controlled trials, where researchers intervene to achieve certain results. And so you will learn what to think of when you read a study. So when you read an epidemiological or a randomized controlled trial, how would you think about whether this study is a valid study, or what information can be obtained from them, and when we can apply in what kind of studies, and whether the study was actually appropriate to be applied to this particular research question that the investigators looked for. Then we will finish term 3 with a lecture from Dr. Annabel Ahore Driscoll, who will teach Maori and indigenous health issues, and that will be the last lecture in our term 3. After which we will be going into the 2 weeks of our term break. When we come back from the term break, everything, as I said before, is that everything that we have learned in the first half of our course, now we will start applying them in real life. Okay, so a lot of hands-on experience of framing questions, searching literature, critical appraisal using the Grade and Grade Pro, how we can pool the results using systematic review. Those will be the focus of our second half. So to take things a little bit more, how to study for this course is quite often a consideration many students ask. Now remember that it's a 0.25 EFT course, which means EFT stands for equivalent full time. So for full time, you have 80 hours in a week. So one EFT is equal to 80 hours per week. So 0.25 EFT, by that notion, is 20 hours per week, which basically translates that you will roughly be spending 4 hours per day of the week. So between Monday through Friday. Now, of course, 4 hours every day is a lot. But you can distribute it between reading papers, discussing papers, and of course class time. So class time is 2 hours out of that. So you apportion yourself as to how much and what you want to do with it. So the one of the ways in which it is a good idea when you start studying or coming to the class is to take notes. And And there are several different ways of taking notes. And one of the things that we often recommend is this, that when you read a paper, you read it in 3 stages. So you skim the paper, identify the particular part of the paper or the book that you did not really understand well, go back to it, and then use a technique called progressive summarization. So the first time you read a paper or a book or any text, you skim, you rapidly read it, and then you mark them, read with a pencil and paper in hand, and you mark them and use it. And then we will be using a system called Zettelkasten method, where you make up a body of the notes and then you interconnect your notes together. So that's going to be really useful for you to cross-connect different topics one with the other. I strongly encourage you to use a reference manager. The University of Canterbury encourages you to use EndNote. You can also use other reference managers such as Mendeley and Zotero. And remember that you're reading, everything that you read is not complete. Everything that you hear is not complete till you take your notes and then you write it out in your own words. So to reiterate how to read a paper in the first pass, you skim it, read with pencil and paper. And here's an important thing that I'd like to recommend and emphasize is this, that there is a tendency that we often use digital highlighters and copy paste. When you do that, while it makes sense, it's quite intuitive, it actually defeats the purpose of reading, because you are dividing your attention between reading and taking notes like that. So rather than that, continuously read it. If a thought occurs, if a passage that you must take notes of, mark it on that on the device or on the book, and then take a note on a piece of paper. And then when in the first pass, try to make short notes in the form of, say, images, mind maps, tables, charts. And what you want to do thereafter is to create a long note out of everything that you've read. And it's called Feynman technique, which is named after Richard Feynman, the famous physicist, who used to say that anything that you do not understand and can explain to a first grader, you have not really understood it. So try to do a very, very long note on that. Stick to one topic at one time and continue doing that. Then come back a second time to the same piece of research in a book or whatever it is. Only focus on the aspects that you didn't understand first time. And then by now, you should have a question in your mind with which you're going to attack that piece of work. So give it a shot and see how you do. And then when you read a book or a paper, figure out a kind of quadrant where it says there's some passages that are quite difficult but useful. So mark them and you come back a second time. That there are passages that are useful but not difficult to understand, also important, and keep them for the second time reading when you read for the second pass. You will see that there are some passages or some sections of the book or paper that are difficult but really not useful for the purpose for which you're reading this. Mark them. You may come back to it, but it's quite optional. And then there are, the fourth section is, there are passages that are not really useful for your purpose, and they're not difficult to understand either, kind of easy. So you don't really need to bother to come back to it the second time or the third time when you read it. Skim it. So that way you can cut down on your reading time. So as I said, with Feynman technique, what you want to do is this, that when you read it and you try to explain everything that you've read as if you're going to explain to a first grade student. And so try to use diagrams, flowcharts, bullet points, anything that makes it very visual. That way you will remember it better. So those are some of the notes that we have learned over the years that I wanted to pass on to you, how you can digest and make use of good information. So what is progressive summarization? First time when you read a complex piece, write a long note and then highlight those passages, bold in certain areas, then come back to it and shorten that summary. And then again shorten it. So the more times you do that, you are progressively summarizing it so you get a gist of it. And then store them using tags and in one folder full of files in a note format, either in your reference manager such as Zotero or EndNote or wherever you find it comfortable, and then use it later as you mix and match the notes and note work. So in Zettelkasten method, what you do is this, that you create these short notes and you use tags, and then you add a source, you add backlinks to the various documents that kind of make up this set of notes. And remember that you create one topic for one note, and then you give it an ID in the form of YYYYMMDDHHMM, which means that year, month, date, hour, minute, because that makes a note to be absolutely unique in terms of when you did it. And you always link to file the notes across, so you can directly file them backlinks, or you can use tags to file them so you can find them later, and you can have quite a stash of your notes that you can use them. This is the principle of Zettelkasten. You can use this to organize your notes and studies. Finally, I would like to give you some tips as to how to ace this course. Definitely read and watch the lectures as they come. Definitely do the class activities. We will be using a number of hands-on activities directly in the class to reinforce your learning. And as I say, ask. So use the forums to ask your questions, post your observations, and definitely take the tests and do the assignments on time. So if there is a deadline, try to respect the deadline and follow it. Otherwise, work piles up and you can feel stressed. So that's all I wanted to talk to you about this course, and good luck studying.